The more I look at this tight end room, the more I think there might be something cooking here.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Wednesday. As we continue this journey through the roster, today we're going to talk about the tight end room. And I think the more I look into it, the more I look at some of the pieces and how we utilize the tight ends last year and who we have going in there this year, I think you might have something cooking here. I think you might have a nice little tight end room with a couple of different types of weapons that I think can make some noise this season in this offense going into year two under Hugh Freeze being the captain of the offense. Hugh loves to use tight ends. He's had a history of using tight ends, and we're going to talk about all that in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off. Everybody's loving this stuff. I get messages every day. No joke. Messages, comments, tweets, just great reviews. I think you'll love it too if you give it a shot. Salsa with a little southern kick. If you live in the state of Alabama, you can find it at any Publix. If you don't live in the state of Alabama or you don't live near a Publix, you need to go online and save. Buy in bulk, use the coupon code, save big there as well. It's good stuff. It's an Auburn family that you can support. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. As we continue to go through this, I want to start off by apologizing. I am just so off on when spring practice starts. I swear there was an article. There was an article when around the Senior Bowl when Hugh did an interview, and he said the date, the 17th or 18th in the actual article. And I've just written that off in my head as that's it. That's when spring practice starts. Makes total sense. It's the week right after spring break. Not going to do the whole start before spring break, finish after spring break thing. But apparently it starts next week. I'm just too excited. I'm too excited for some football talk, too excited to see some of these newcomers, and I'm excited to see some of these tight ends and how this whole thing shakes out. Hughes had no shortage of desire to throw to tight ends throughout his career. He's had some good ones. Obviously, the easy one to go to is Evan Engram. But it's way more than just that. It's just the way that he likes to run the ball. He needs tight ends. The way that he works this RPO game and picks on linebackers. You need to have a reliable tight end. And it's just an important role. It's an important role to make this RPO system go. You've had a pretty solid one over the last two seasons. Rivaldo Fairweather, regardless of the drop issues you had seemingly at times, there were times in 2023 where, not times, I mean, he was the only real receiving threat. We had 6 touchdowns, nearly 400 yards receiving. Last year felt like he maybe took a step back, but hey, you upgraded the wide receiver room. You beefed up the talent around him. He was it 2 years ago. Last year, it was more along the lines of what I think a Hugh Freeze offensive roster will look like. And I think production-wise, if you can get 400 to 500 yards out of a tight end, 4 or 5 touchdowns, I mean, that's deadly. That's what you're looking for. And I think Auburn's got the tools to not necessarily take too much of a step back in running the ball. And I think there's some weapons there that can catch the ball as well. I think there's some guys that can make some stuff happen. And we'll talk about those right here in just a second. So Luke Deal was your guy last year. He's been their guy for seemingly about 10 years as a run blocking, primarily a run blocking tight end. He did catch a touchdown last year against Oklahoma. It was a really pretty catch too. Got pass interference and everything. Made the play. Brandon Frazier. Brandon Frazier's your returning senior. He's been here forever. Signed under Gus in 2020. So I keep forgetting about him because I think I always remember Jeremiah Wright as signing under Gus, but Brandon Frazier also signed under Gus in 2020. I remember getting him out of high school and thinking, this is Gronkowski. This is the next Gronk. Runs a 4.5, 4.6. He's 6'7". Played I think high school football in Texas. Had a pile of receiving yards and touchdowns. I just remember thinking this guy's going to change the game as far as Auburn's passing attack. He's just never really seemed to pop. He's done well every time he's given opportunities. Never really seemed to pop. For one reason or another. There was even a time where I thought possibly he may move to left tackle. There was a lot of talk about that. They're going to beef him up and move him to left tackle because he is athletic. You just haven't quite put it all together yet. And you've had some lingering injuries here, got injured last year, just stuff like that have just really hindered his career. But I think he's finally sort of 100% healthy, and we're moving in an actual direction where we know the role we want him to play. We know the role he wants to play. We know the role we want him to play. And you're kind of moving into that direction with full focus and full health. Again, 6'7", 260 pounds. Don't expect him to be your big-time receiving threat, but could easily see him being a huge impact in the run game. He's a big leader in that big leader in that team room. Everybody kind of looks to him. He's probably one of the older players on the team. He, along with Jeremiah Wright. Those are the type players you got to have. You need players like that. And tight end's a good position to just be like the older guy. I don't know why. The wily veteran tight end that everybody looks to. Really need Brandon Frazier to step up because that role is vital, especially in short yardage positions when you're trying to get it going and you just need to rip off a 4 or 5 yard run to kind of get a drive started. You want to find somebody to run behind, or hey, drive starter. You want to have a little play action, sneak a tight end into the flat, and you got a big 6'7", 260 guy out there, and you got a safety coming up having to make a stop. Just guys like that are important. Drive starting guys, those guys are important, and I think Brandon Frazier can carve out that role if he's fully healthy. There's not much behind him either. And we'll talk about what's behind him as far as that particular part of the tight end role. I think they're trying to cross-train everybody a little bit to play both roles. I just don't see Brandon Frazier being that lineup as a big slot receiver. I don't see that out of him. I think he's going to be your traditional inline or H-back type tight end. I think it could be a good one. That's a very niche role, and I think it's somebody that's got to accept that they're not going to get a lot of touches. It's going to be ugly. They're going to be grinding. They're going to be banging, and you just got to get after it. So I'm excited because of his age. I'm excited because of his maturity. He's hung in there with Auburn, and he's going to give it another go. His final ride. So Brandon Frazier, that's definitely going to be one to watch out for. This guy I was really excited about. I was really excited about Rico Walker when we got him last season. He was a super high rated. He was actually like a defensive end coming out of high school. Goes to Maryland. Was there one season. Doesn't really do a ton. But physically, I mean, he looks like just a little smaller version of Rivaldo Fairweather. They're almost the same size. He's a little bit lighter. Lengthwise, they look the same. Athletic ability, he may actually be a little bit more athletic than Rivaldo. If you're trying to fill that Rivaldo role, if that's the void, I mean, you got to replace about 400 yards receiving out of that room. I think Rico has all the tools to get that done. But I think last year he was very disappointing as far as what they expected out of him and what he kind of brought to the table. I think they were a little bit underwhelmed by him to the point where, hey, you had to bring in another tight end in the portal. But with that being said, from what I understand, early on, I think it may have been one of those things to where when you have a guy like Rivaldo in front of you, you can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it sort of puts a damper on, hey, maybe a little bit of damper on your effort, or maybe a little bit of a damper on your motivation. I can do whatever I want. I can do as much as I can. I can't beat that guy out. He's going to get his touches. I just have to wait till next year. And with that being said, from what I understand, the lights come on and Rico is ready to play. Really impressing early on in a leadership role, sort of taking those, private throwing sessions and things as, as business. This is my chance. They got to fill that void, and I can be that guy. When you talk about a former high 4-star prospect, very, very athletic guy. Good reports coming out early as you're heading into spring practice. He could make, if you're looking at guys that have the most potential to pop, maybe of the whole team, I think Rico Walker has the biggest opportunity. You have a role that has to be filled. There is a position, there is a bucket of production that has to be filled. And really, there's not much competition there at all. Rico has the chance to fill that bucket and take over. And I think he sees that. From what I understand, I think he sees that, and I think he's ready to rock and roll. We're going to talk about newcomers here in just a second, but before we do that, guys, March Madness starts tomorrow. Auburn's tournament starts tomorrow. You need to go to mybookie.ag, use coupon code BARN, and get a 50% deposit bonus. So give them $100. They're going to give you 50 free back to play with. Throw that 50 on Auburn to win the national championship. Let's go. Stack it to your chin. You never know what could happen, and you can be set up and ready to go. My bookie will have every line. You can have live betting, first half, second half. So I'm looking at Auburn first half against Alabama State. I think that's going to be the bet to watch. Get set up, take advantage of the free play. It's mybookie.ag, and then go to rowback.com. I got my black hoodie on that I just got recently. This material is incredible. Feels great. I know we're kind of maybe transitioning out of hoodie season, but hey, it's still a little bit chilly in the morning. Throw it on, layer up, get you a rowback polo underneath, and you're set for the day. Top button approved. Love their polos. Love everything about them. You can save by going to rowback.com using coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. Love everything they got. Rowback.com. Let's talk newcomers. I just mentioned earlier that, Rico's performance, I'll even throw in maybe effort or just seemingly desire to work last year, put Auburn in a position where, hey, we got to go get somebody. All we got are 2 freshmen coming in. We don't know what we're going to get. Is Brandon Frazier going to be healthy? Is Rico going to be the guy we think he can be? We got to go get somebody. Where do they turn? right back to Maryland. Right back to Maryland, and you go get a guy that is a pretty intriguing athlete in Preston Howard. I don't know what it is about Maryland tight ends, but apparently we got an eye for him. Think about Rico Walker. Dadgummit, I just got away from this guy, and now I got to compete with him again. Preston Howard's intriguing because he was actually a high school quarterback. And he was really more of like a running quarterback in high school. Hasn't done much in college. He's only caught one touchdown. Guess who that's against? Your Auburn Tigers in the Music City Bowl. His singular touchdown in collegiate football was against us. It's pretty funny, I think. The irony of that's pretty hilarious. But yeah, you're talking about a guy, again, not a ton of college production, comes in 6'5", 235. Hey, he's going to be chomping at the bit. He's a junior. He's got 2 years left to play. I don't really know what role you're going to see out of him. That's one that I'm intrigued to see how things play out in spring. Hey, they gave him number 15, so he's got to be a stud. If you get a non-80 number tight end, I mean, science says you're a player. Good to have options there. Again, I don't expect a ton I'm not expecting him to come in and like, man, we got an All-American. He just hasn't shown that yet. But athletically, physically, he's got it all. He's got all the tools you can ask for at tight end, and he seems like he could probably be a little bit of a hybrid guy, maybe play both. I think it's going to be tough for Rico to be. Rico's going to be pretty much, in my opinion, he's sort of singled in as a receiver, a receiving tight end. I don't think he's going to be much of an inline blocking threat. I think Preston could maybe do both. I think Preston has a little bit of a different mindset. I think he could do both. I think he could be a guy that you could line up at H-back, and then in the very next play, split him out into the slot where he's sort of off the ball and running pass catching routes. I think he could maybe do both. It's just a matter of how does he fit in? How does he fit in, and what does that look like? What are your thoughts? What do you think about Preston Howard? What do you expect out of Preston Howard this year? I like him. I like the addition. Again, I just don't know 100% how he fits. You will know a lot more after spring on Preston. Your freshmen. You bring in 2 freshmen. I really like both of them. You got Zach Blackerby's buddy, Ryan Ghea. Came in at 260 pounds as a freshman. And we're not talking about like 6'2", 260. I mean, this kid's like 6'5", 6'6", 256, 260 pounds. At tight end, coming from Milton, Georgia, Milton High School, where they play pretty solid brand of football there. He's come in college body ready to play in January. He early enrollee. He'll be here through spring. He's healthy. That's big. That seems to be half the battle in spring. Are they healthy enough to want to put out there and not worry about getting hurt? He's going to have a lot of opportunities to turn some heads, make some things happen. I like Ryan Ghea. Again, I'm thinking Luke Deal. That's what I'm looking at as far as a comparison. That's probably the role that he's going to play. I don't see him being a down the field big time receiving threat. I see him eating up some flat passes on some play actions or little drag routes, things like that, and then getting ugly with it, pushing some face masks in, running the ball, and I think he's okay with that. From what I understand, what I hear from him, he just wants to play football, man. You got to have kids like that. Then you got your boy Hollis Davidson. He's a little bit banged up going into spring. Not sure exactly how much he's going to participate. I don't even think he's been cleared to practice yet. So he's a little bit banged up, but I like his size too. And the biggest thing I like about him is speed. Really, really good top end speed for that size at 6'5", 231. He's almost an oversized receiver. If he can hang in there and do the work this offseason and this season, he's got a chance to pop and pop quick. He's got the athletic ability not only to just be a big slot, he's got the athletic ability, maybe even in the red zone, to line out wide. I think he has that suddenness about him that he could fit in that role. Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tight ends, it's going to be a lot of show me. You know what I mean? A lot of, hey, I'm not 1,000% ready to jump on board. I need you to show me. Haven't seen much yet, but the tools are there. The tools are there enough to get a little bit excited about what could happen in that room. But still, you got to show me. You got to bring it. And let's see what happens in spring next week, not this week. Oh, man. How are you guys feeling about the tight end room? Let me know how you feel in the comments. You know I'll shout back at you in a good way or a bad way if you deserve it. Well, then we can mix it up in the comments. Guys, you need to sign up for the barn, auburn.com. We got a huge feature exclusive only to the barn members dropping on Friday that I think everybody's going to love. So stay tuned. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. You're going to love it, and you can be a part of it too. Sign up today. Take $25 off your annual membership for 2025. If you like this video, like it. If you like this channel, subscribe to it. Hit us up in the comments. Don't forget to sign up at mybookie.ag using that coupon code BARN for that 50% deposit bonus. Don't miss out on March Madness. Make some money. Take that free play and make some money. We'll be back again tomorrow with a barn takeover. And guys, buckle up. The NCAA tournament starts tomorrow. Auburn's ride starts tomorrow. We're going to have some basketball pods dropping too. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Everything's going on here at the Barn Auburn YouTube page. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay button.
Thanks for listening and drive home safely.